We'll start now in the Mamorim Melukotim. This is the 33rd mimer, the 33rd mimer. And this is actually in the very first mimer that the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said it on Yud Shvat, Tavshin Yud Aleph, when the Rebbe accepted upon himself the leadership. And the Rebbe gave the first talk, and the first mimer was the mimer Basi Legani. As you know, so this is Basi Legani Achosi Kalo that the Rebbe said in Yud Shvat and Tavshin Yud Aleph. The Rebbe would every year explain one chapter, starting with Tavshin Yud Aleph, in which he explained the first chapter of the mimer that the previous Rebbe has given out for Yud Shvat, for his yortzeit. Now, it happened also to be the yortzeit of his grandmother, and etc. So there was a reason for him to publish the mimer, and then it turns out that this was the mimer for his own histalkus for Yud Shvat, and this has been published. It was said in Yud Shvat of Yud Aleph, then it was published in Yud Aleph Nisan, Tavshin Yud Aleph in that year, and it's mainly based on the first pasuk in from the mimer on the first perek in the mimer of Basi Legani of the previous Rebbe, the first of the 20th chapters. Okay, so this is a very special mimer in the sense that this is the very first mimer that the Rebbe gave, and this is the way the Rebbe accepted his leadership. So let's do this mimer inside. Siyata Deshmaya Yud Shvat Tavshin Yud Aleph. So the Rebbe starts off with Koisef Kavod Kidushas Moiricham Admur. My father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, the Rebbe, he writes, the Rebbe is talking that this is the Rebbe writes. He calls him, I said the word previous, but I don't want to make sure that the Rebbe says that the Rebbe, that's the way the Rebbe refers to his father-in-law. He writes, in the mimer that was given out for the day of his histalkus, the day of the passing of the previous Rebbe, which was Yud Shvat Tavshin Yud. That's when the mimer was that was given for his histalkus. That's when the histalkus took place. Histalkus took place, the passing on Yud Shvat Tavshin Yud. So it says like this: Basi Legani Achosi Kalo. The pasuk in Shir Hashirim says, "I've come to my garden," and this is Hashem speaking to the Jewish people in a term of very special relationship. Hashem calls them Achosi, my sister, my Kala, my bride, as in the Shir Hashirim. Hashem says to Achosi Kala, to his sister, to his bride, as the Jewish people, that I have come, Basi Legani, have come to my garden. That's what the pasuk says. So the Medrash Rabbah, so the Medrash Rabbah, right there on the spot, the Medrash Rabbah has the Shir Hashirim Rabbah. That's the Medrash Rabbah on the pasuk in Shir Hashirim. So right there, it says in the Medrash Rabbah, Legan enksiv kan elo legani. It does not say Hashem, I come to the garden or to a garden, but I came to my garden. That implies that it's mine, that this garden was already possessed and owned by Hashem. He was there already. Why does it say I've come to my garden? Because that garden was already Hashem's. So the Medrash Rabbah says, it doesn't say Ligan Ein Ksiv Kan, it doesn't say to garden. Elo legani, but my garden, leginuni. This means to my place of garden, leginuni, of pleasure, where a person comes out to relax and to take it easy. That is the leginuni. And why is it why are we referring to my garden? Is lemokoim shahoyo ikri betchilo. That place, that gan, which is referencing, as we will see, this world is considered to be the Hashem's garden, because Hashem's presence, or he says the main presence, the main ikr of Hashem was here in the beginning. I'm coming back. We'll see that there were the Shekhinah initially presence was in Olam Hazeh until they pushed it away from Olam Hazeh up into the heavens, into the Shamayim. And here the pasuk is talking about Basi Legani. I've come back to my garden. I've come back to my place, to my Genuni. And as the Medrash says, the Iker Shechina B'Tachtonim Hoysod, the main divine was in the Tachtonim. So it's Gani. Atkan L'Shoyne. This is the language of the Medrash Rabbah that the previous Rebbe brings down in this Maimon. So the Rebbe explains now the precise language, what it means that the main Shekhinah was here. What is the meaning of the main Shekhinah? For us to understand the specific language, we don't say that the Shekhinah was B'Tachtonim, but we say the main Shekhinah was B'Tachtonim. So first, let's understand what is the meaning of Shekhinah, and then we'll understand what's the meaning of Iker Shekhinah. Shekhinah means a place where the Eibishter, where Hashem's rests and settles in, dresses up. What is that level? So the Rebbe is going to bring down from the Alter Rebbe, even in a higher than Atzilus, in the oil of Lifnei Hatzimtzum, in the way the world, the shine that emanated from Hashem Lifnei Hatzimtzum, over there, that's already called Shechina. Hine, Bepiru Shechina, what is the meaning of the word Shechina? Mevayer Kveit Kidushas Admor Hazokin. The Alter Rebbe explains Shenikra Shechina, that why do we call this Shechina is because Al Shem Sheshechenes Umislabeshes is because it rests and dresses up. A level of the divine that rests, comes down to and dresses up is called Shechina. Miloshen, that comes from the language V'shochanti b'soicham, I will dwell amongst you. I will come down and rest and dwell amongst you. Shahu reishis his galus oirein sof. Alter Rebbe said that's the first of the revelation, the oirein sof, the infinite light. First revelation is Shechina. Shechina means that it dresses up and it comes down from the Ein Sof, that it comes down. That's the Shechina. Hine, so this language that he says the beginning of the Hisgalus tells us that we're talking about the Ein Sof, even Lifnei Hatzimtzum, not only Hatzilus. From the fact that the Alter Rebbe writes, Shereish is his galus oirin sof nikro b'shem shechino. that the beginning of the revelation of the Ein Sof is called Shechina. Move on, Mizeh. From this, it's understood she'inyan Shechina hu l'mayla mayla matzilus gamkin, that the concept of Shechina is higher and higher, also from Atzilus. So Atzilus would be a world in which is already the creation of the worlds, Abiyah, Atzilus, Bria. So from the Hishtalshulus, so we're talking about the Shechina is not only in Hishtalshulus, which would be Atzilus, but it is Lamailo, since Shechina is the Shechenes Umislabeshes, that takes place higher than Atzilus. Gam b'bchinas ha'oir shelifnei hatzimtzum, also in the level of oir of light, which is before the restriction, before the tzimtzum. Because why? Because he says it's the Reishis is Galus. Hare Reishis ha'is Galus hu ba'oir in sof shelifnei hatzimtzum. Because the beginning of the revelation is taka in the Ein Sof light, which is before the Tzimtzum. As the Mittler Rebbe writes, Ki ha'oras hakav v'chut legabe atzmiyus Ein Sof nikra b'shem Shechina, that the shine, the fact that there is a ray of a kav v'chut, which is lifnei hatzimtzum, to come into the cholol mokim ponish. So you have this shine of the kav and the chut relative to the essence of the Ein Sof nikra b'shem Shechina. That's called Shechina. So what is Shechina? Is Shechina Atzilus or the Ein Sof? Every place. Inyan Shechina ubechol mokim lefi inyanei. Every place the Shechina is according to that aspect in which we're talking about. What is the level of Shechina in Atzilus? Begabe Atzilus, in Atzilus, relative to Atzilus, hinei hamalchus nikra b'shem Shechina. Within Atzilus, the level of Sfiras HaMalchus, the last level of Atzilus, last of the 10 Sfiras, that is the level of Shechina. Begam bozeh, but also the Shechina in the areas of the Kav, V'chut will be Shechina. But in Atzilus, it's Malchus, which is Shechina. Now notice the Rebbe brings down from all the Rebbes. He started with the Alter Rebbe, and we're going to the Mittler Rebbe, and now we're going to the Tzemach Tzedek. Also in this that the Malchus that Atzilus is called Shechina is Bevair Kveit Kidushas Admurat Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek is mevair shezehu davke k'moi shenasis bechinas atik lo'ilam habriya. When Malchus becomes in a level of atik, removed a level of keser to the olam habriya, in that level of Malchus we call it Shechina. Being when it impacts already Bria, but it's removed from Bria, that's the Shechina, level of Shechina of Malchus of Atzilus. Avol bihi yoiso ba'atzilus. But when the level of Malchus is in Atzilus, himiyuchedes imohem, it's united with all the other Shviras, imasviras da Atzilus, together with the other Shviras of Atzilus. And it doesn't apply the lashon of resting and dressing up. It's not going into a lower level to rest there and dress up there, because it is in its place together with the other Shviras of Atzilus. This does not contradict the fact that we're saying that even Malchus, when it's in Atzilus, it's not called Shechina. But here we're saying that the Kav is called Shechina. Ki Shechina shenemar b'drashas Razal, b'divrei Razal, hainu Malchus Atzilus. Because Shechina, which is spoken of in the expounding of our sages of lesson memory, that is Taka Malchus of Atzilus. And Vav Gam Zois, and even Malchus Atzilus, Rak Shenasis B'chinas Atik Libriya Davke. Only when it becomes a keser, or removed over Bria, with its relationship to Bria, so then Malchus becomes a level of Shechina. Davke, then we call it Shechina. Aval b'shorsho, but in its root, Hainu k'moishu legabe Ein Sof, the way it is relative to the Ein Sof, to the Ein Sof. Hinegam hakav nikra b'shem Shechina. Also, the kav is referred to with the name of Shechina. The kav is also Shechina. So, in Malchus, in Droshes Razal, Malchus is Shechina, and Malchus becomes Atik, but relative himself, also the Kav is called Shechina. That time, so one of the reasons that the Kav is called with the name Shechina relative to Ein Sof, Kosav Chak with Admur Marash. So now we're going down to the fourth Rebbe. We'll cover. We're going in order. We had the Alter Rebbe, the Tzemach, the Mittler Rebbe, and the Tzemach Tzedek, now the Rebbe Maharash. So, Kosav Chakan Maharash, Lifi, Shakav, Kavonas, Hamshochosoi, because the Kav, that line that comes from the Ein Sof and Lifnei Hatzimtzum, what is the intent? Why is it being drawn down? Is Bishvil Sheyislabesh Ba'ilumesh Uneshamas Yisrael, so that it dresses up in the world and to the souls of the Velochein, and because of that, Inegam Bereshisoi Nikra B'Shem Shechina, also in the beginning, when it starts, when it's in the level of a kav, it's already called Shechina. Ulamai lo yoser Shechina b'shor shorishay. Now we're going to go even higher than the kav, and we're bringing down now the Rebbe Nishmos Eid, the Rebbe Rashab. Ulamai lo yoser, even higher than the kav, Shechina b'shor shorishay. Is Lamayla Matzimtzum. The Shechina in its first root is higher than the Tzimtzum. And Mevayer Kveit Kedushas Admon Nishmos Eid. So the Rebbe Nishmos Eid, Rebbe Rashab explains Shegilui ha'oir k'moi shehu lifnei hatzimtzum nikra b'shem Shechina. That the revelation of the light as it is before the tzimtzum, the oil, when it becomes revealed as is before the tzimtzum, is also nikra b'shem Shechina. It's also called Shechina. What does it mean? The revelation of the oil lifnei hatzimtzum, because in the oil lifnei hatzimtzum there is three levels. And the level of Gilui Ha'or is called the level of Shechina. The Rebbe explains. In the general oil, which is before the tzimtzum, there are three steps, there are three levels. Etzem ha'oil v'yispashtus oil. First, the essence of the oil and the expansion of the oil, and within the expansion of the light of the oil, is Beis Madreges. We also have two steps here. Gilui ha'oir k'moi shehu la'atzmai, the revelation of the oir as it is for itself. Shazahu mokarei haseviv, that is the source for the light of seviv kulam, that comes down into the level of seviv. Begilu ha'oir la'atzmai, and also the second step, the way the oir is revealed to himself, hashayich lo'elamis, that it's the oir, the revelation of the la'atzmai, which is connected to the world. Shazahu mokoir oir hamemalik. That becomes the source. That is the source of the light which is memal, what fills the world. So this third step, this light that becomes the Oira Memale is Nikra B'Shem Shechina. That revelation of that light in the Ein Sof Lifnei HaTzimtzum, that is Pashtus HaOir, to become a mocker of Oir Memale, is Nikra B'Shem Shechina. It's called Shechina. Even though that this is before the Tzimtzum, this is Pashtus Ha'oir. He can't really, it's impossible for it to become a source for Elmas. That's why it was necessary to be the Tzimtzum, because the oil without the restriction is too powerful to create worlds. For worlds to be created cannot come from this oil, and there needs to be a tzimtzum first. That's what. And not only a regular tzimtzum, which is a restricting the light, but actually a tzimtzum which is b'chinas siluk. The tzimtzum rishon, and there needed to be this first restriction, shu b'chinas siluk dafka, which is in a way of siluk, as we say, as says in Eitz Chaim, always brought down that the Eibishter put his light away, he became a cholol u'mokim ponim, which is a level of siluk. That big restriction in order to allow for the world to become created in existence. So how do we say that the oir lifnei hatzimtzum is called shechina because it dresses up, but it can't really come down? It needs the tzimtzum, and the tzimtzum b'chinas siluk to come down. Mikol makom nikra b'shem shechina, but still it is called the level of shechina. B'zeu diuk haloshin, and this is this precise language. When we say iker shechina b'tachtonim hoyso, that the main of the divine was b'tachtonim. Hainu shegilu hashchina b'tachtonim, that what revelation of the Shekhinah, we say Bosi Legani, the Eibishter comes down from the place that I was in the beginning. So what was there in the beginning? In the beginning wasn't just the Shekhinah. The Gilu HaShekhinah B'tachtonim Huloi HaShekhinah Kemoshi Legabe Atzilus, is not the Shekhinah as it is relative to Atzilus. Hainu Malchus, which would be the level of Malchus. Also, unlike it is the way it is Lagabe Eirin Sof, which would be the level of Hainu Hakav, the level of Hakav, Ki'im, but rather Iker Upnimius HaShekhinah, the main meaning the inner of the Shekhinah, Hoyso B'tachtoinim Davki, was Davki in Tachtoinim. What was the Shekhinah and the Tachtoinim? Was this Shekhinah from Lifnei HaTzimtzum. Because generally speaking, when we talk about the Shekhinah, the oil, the light that dresses up in the world, Hare Hubo Beseder V'Hadroge. That comes in an order, in a step by step. And that means the higher Ulemaila Meir Begilu Yoser, when it's higher, it is more revealed. And all that it extends and it evolves, the light becomes lessened. And likewise, it's in generally in the light of the other Ishtalshlus. Basically, it is a light which shines more when it's in a higher level, then it comes down to the lower level, the earth evolves and is diminished. And that's Bechlal, the Eure Seder Ishtalshlus. So therefore, that would be not the Iker Shekhinah. Because we're talking about Basi Legani the way before the sin that we pushed away the Shekhinah, but before the sin of the Eitz Hadas and the other Avedis, there was also below Ha'ir Begilui, the light was open, but even then, it was still in the ladder. It was on the lower, because in Ishtalshalus, the Oir came down in this world, even before the sin, in a lesser degree than it's higher. It was also openly revealed. So, and still, even then, there was a greater revelation of light above, so it's still diminished. As our sages tell us, not to yiminoi, when Hashem tilted his right hand, Ubara Shamayim, he creates the heavens. Not to Smoila, he tilted his left hand, Ubara Oretz, and he creates the world. So the right and the left represent, right has more Gilui, left has less Gilui. The level of Shamayim, there is the right is more Gilui, and the left in the Oretz is less Gilui, and that's even before the sin, so in which the Shekhinah left. So still, it's lesser here. But that over here, when we say that the Shekhinah was here, we're not talking about the oil of Oilamos. It's not the Shekhinah, it's not the level of Malchus, which is where this world gets a lower level. We're talking about the Iker Shekhinah, we're talking about the oil, which is beyond the Oilamos, which is the level of the Iker Shekhinah, the main Shekhinah, which is even in the level of Lifnei Hatzimtzum. Base. Behold, the Iker Shekhinah betachtonim haiso. The fact that the main Shekhinah was in the low of the tachtonim, so it's explained from the Medrash the tachtonim koi al olam hazeh hagashmi. Where do we say? Where was the main Shekhinah was tachtonim? What are these tachtonim? Tachtonim is this world is physical world. Like the Medrash explains, that through this sin of the tree of knowledge in which Adam took part with Chava, that sin caused the divine to leave. It left the Oretz and went up to the Rikiyah, and then Basi Legani, It comes back. Validei matan Torah al Har Sinai, and through giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, Bosi Legani, the Eibishter came back. I'm coming to Legani, Lignuni. The main removal of the Shekhinah that becomes through, that came through the sin, is Dafke, the sin of the Eitz Hadas. The Medrash enumerates there the various other sins that took place later on. But that took it from one level of Rakia to another level. The Shekhinah was pushed away further and further. But the main removal from the Shekhinah from the world took place through the Chet Eitz Hadas, Dafke. And just like with the sin, the main sin that pushes away the Shekhinah from the earth to the Rakia, the mitzvah that brings down will be Matan Torah. Because the main of the sin was the sin of the Eitz Hadas. Through the sin of the Eitz Hadas, that allowed and gave room for the rest of the sin. Eitz Hadas, and the sin of the Eitz Hadas, that was the reason and the cause lachatoim, the Kayin ve'enesh v'chulu, to the sins of Kayin killing Hevel, and Enesh v'chulu, k'may Kain hu b'p'ula sachet. So the impact of this sin allowed for other sins, and the impact of this sin of the Eitz Hadas, the asiluk shenasa al yidei hachet, the removal of the divine that took place through this sin, hine iker hasiluk hu ma shenistalik al yidei chet Eitz Hadas. The main removal is that through the sin of the Eitz Hadas, it was removed ma'olam hazeh hatachten dafke, that it left this physical, this world, this low world dafke. So that is the main siluk that took place through the impact of the sin. The kishem sheiker shchina betachtonim hu ba'olam hazeh dafke, just like the main divine present was Davke in Tachtoinim, in Olam Hazeh, in this world, the Tachtoinim, that was the Ginuni, that was the Gani, where the Ikeshchina was here. Davke in Olam Hazeh, Hinek Moikein, Hu Bahasiluk. So the same thing is when we talk about the removal, leaving the Iker Hasiluk, who Mashen Nistalka Ma'oretz Dafke. The main removal is not that it went higher and higher later on, but the fact that it left this Oretz, this world Dafke. That took place through the sin of the Eitz Hadas. Through that, the Shekhinah left from the earth to the heavens, to the sky, to the Rakia. So the main issue is the Eitz Hadas, the sin allowed for other sins, and the impact that it was removed. The main removal is that it went away from this Olam Hazeh. And this is the reason also. That he does not combine in the Maimer the sin of the Eitz Hadas imachatoyim, the Kayin ve'enesh, together with the sins of Kayin ve'enesh, v'choyshev zeh bifnei atzmei, and he counts it, the sin of the Eitz Hadas, by itself. because the cause of the sins of Cain and Enesh, they caused nistalka shchina mirikia l'rikia. That caused the shchina to go from one level of rikia to the upper level. Mashenken bechet eitzadas, as opposed to eitzadas, shenistalka ma'oretz l'rikia. Then it went up from the oretz l'rikia. So now that is, first of all, shelevad zois. Besides the fact that what is important to us, because we are in Oretz, Shasiluk Ma'oretz, Be'ikir Negeh Elonu, that mainly what's important to us is that it left the Oretz and it went to the Kia. So besides the point that this is really important to us because we're Ba'aretz, and to us when it leaves, that's our main concern, but it's also the main siluk. This is also the siluk when it goes from Oretz, where there was the Iker Shechina, and it goes up to the Rekia. Then he continues the Maimer that and then there were 7 tzaddikim that stood up, and they brought down the divine below. Avram zocha v'hoirid es hashchina mirkiya zayin levov chulu. He says Avram merited, and he brought down from the 7th to the 6th. Now, in the Medrash, it goes through Yitzchak, Yaakov, everybody from the 7th to the 6th to the 5th, but in the Maimer, he doesn't go through the whole details. He does it short, and he concludes, Ad ki Moshe shehu hashvi, until Moshe came around. Moshe is the 7th. B'chol hashvin chavivin, and all the 7th are dear. So Moshe Rabbeinu had that special dearness because he was number 7. Hayridu lemato ba'oretz, he brought the Shekhinah back down, the Basi Legani, back to the ground. The Iker inyan ha'hamshoche, the main idea of drawing this down, while Moshe. Moshe is the one who brought it down. Share Moshe, because it was specifically Moshe that brought it down into the earth. The kashem shebeinyan hasiluk milmata lemaila. Just like when in the idea of the removal of the Shekhinah from below to above, the main thing is this sin of the Eitzadas. That it was removed from the Oretz, as I said before. Likewise, it is also within, when we bring it down from above to below. So when it goes in the other direction, bringing it down from above to below, yes, there's hamshachas from Avram, the other others that bring it down the various different levels of the rakia, but the main thing is lamato be'oretz. Again, the levad zoy sham shocha lamata beikar nagelon. Besides the fact that bringing it down lamato is mainly important to us because we're here. What happens in the upper rakiyas is not so important to us. So besides the fact that this is important to us because we're here, this is the main idea of this hamshacha. And this is done davke through Moshe. And the reason why Take Moshe, he explains in the Maimer, in the parentheses, Kikol Hashvin Chavivim, because all the 7th are there. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that brought down the Shechit. Gimel. V'hine, Miloshen Razal, from the language that the sages of blessed memory use, and they say, V'chol hashvi'in chavivin, the seventh are dear. V'loi, but it doesn't say kol hachavivin shvi, that those are dear are seventh. The Rebbe wants to bring out that the advantage is the fact that you're the seventh. It's not because you have an advantage and that's why you're the seventh, but the other way around. Because you're the seventh gives you the advantage. And the Rebbe is going to speak about the fact that we're the seventh generation. It's not that we are special, and that's why we are seventh, but because we are the seventh generation, starting from the Alter Rebbe, that makes us special. That makes us there. So from the fact that the Razal tell us so from this it's evidence that the main advantage is that you are the seventh. And because you are seven, that is why you are there. I know that is shechavivusei einoi mitzad inyan hatolui b'bchirosoi ritzoyne v'avedosoi. That you being there, if you're the seventh, is not because of an idea or something which hinges either b'bchirosoi, your choice, or ritzoyne, you wanted, or avedosoi, your service. That's not what the dearness of the seventh is. Just the fact that you're number seven. That comes because of the birth. You happen to be number seven. And still, even though it's not something that you worked on, it's not your choice, not your avodah, all the seventh are there. That's why Moshe merited the Torah was given through him, is because he was number seven. After Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, he was number seven, as the Medrash details. So we had explanations from all the Rebbes, and now it's the Frierdiker Rebbe. My father-in-law, the Rebbe, explained. But besides the whole Maimer is the Frierdiker Rebbe, but the Rebbe specifically brings down in the different biurim. Now he's explaining from the Frierdiker Rebbe. So the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbe, my father-in-law, America, when he first came to America, even in the idea that the seventh is there, you can also recognize that there is an advantage to the first one. Because you say you're seventh, who is seventh to what? To the first is Shahu Shvi Larisha. And that's the seventh to the first one. So who is the first one? Avram Avinu. Then he explained the greatness, the advantage of the first one, Avram Avinu, that is our father Avram, because of his service. And that his service was with self-sacrifice. That was his greatness. So the seventh, because you're seventh to Avram Avinu, who worked with Mesiras Nefesh. The previous Rebbe doesn't stop there by just saying that he did Mesiras Nefesh. And he's not satisfied just by saying this, that Abraham was Mesiras Nefesh, or Moisif Oid. He adds more to it, even though after although it doesn't seem there to be important for the subject matter itself. So what does he explain further about Abraham? That what was the way he had Mesiras Nefesh? He didn't look for self-sacrifice. explains the difference between Rabbi Akiva and Avraham Avinu, that Rabbi Akiva was looking for the great elevation that you have through Mesiras Nefesh. But Avraham Avinu didn't look for the great elevation, but rather he did his work. If it required Mesiras Nefesh, he was ready for that too. So I have fresh bein Mesiras Nefesh the Avraham Avinu. This is the difference between the self-sacrifice of our father Avraham and the Mesiras Nefesh of Rabbi Akiva. The Mesiras Nefesh that Rabbi Akiva hoyo. The Mesiras Nefesh that Rabbi Akiva was hat gesucht Mesiras Nefesh. He was searching for Mesiras Nefesh, as he said. He was telling his students who said, "How much can he take?" Rabbi Akiva, he said, "All my life, when I said Shema Yisrael Hashem Echad, I was hoping, when will I have the opportunity to fulfill Mesiras Nefesh?" That means that he was looking for the advantage of Mesiras Nefesh. Ma'ashenkin ba'Avraham, as opposed to Avraham, hinam Mesiras Nefesh eloi hoya b'derech agav. His Mesiras Nefesh was by the way. He wasn't looking for Mesiras Nefesh. Avraham knew she'ikar avodahu k'moshe kasuv. He knew that the main avodah is what the pasuk says, Vayikro shom b'shem havaya keil olam. Pasuk says he called there, he proclaimed over there in the name Hashem keil olam. What does it mean, keil olam? The God of the world is al tikra vayikra ela vayakri. Don't say just that he called. Don't pronounce it vayikra. He called b'shem Hashem, but vayakri, he made others call. Ela vayakri az yener zol oich shreim. So somebody else should also scream. And if, by the way, this required self-sacrifice, so there is there too. He's ready for self-sacrifice. It is so great, the advantage of the service of Avram and his self-sacrifice, ad asher gam Moshe, that the extent that also Moshe, why did he merit the Torah was given through him? Because he's the seventh, he's there, he is the seventh to the first, he's the seventh to Avraham Avinu. And the Medrash says that Hashem said to Moshe, in the place of the great, which is Avraham, don't stand. In other words, that Moshe Rabbeinu, while he's there and he got the Matan Torah, he's the Shvi, Hashem still tells him, don't stand in the place of the great with Avraham. So now, although Avki Godlo Chavivis Hashvi, even though that the dearness of the seventh is great, it doesn't come not because you choose to be the seventh. It doesn't come because you worked hard, avodah. This comes ready-made. Mitzad tulda, birth, that you happen to be the seventh. So doesn't mean that it's limited. There's no limitation. Just because you didn't work at it and you just got it, there's no limitation. There's no boundaries. So that we should say, oh, this is something which is beyond. It's above. This is only fitting for select individual, special individual. But rather, as explained in the Torah of Eliyahu, in Perik Tes and Perik Chavhei, Umuva Bedach, and it's brought down in Chassidus, Shekol Yisrael, that all the Yidden, Vafilu Eved, Vafilu Shivcha, even a servant, a maidservant, a male servant and a maidservant, Yecholim lehagia lashros ruach hakodesh. So you may be on a low level, like an Eved Shivka, you can still reach the level of the Ruach HaKodesh resting. And each and every one of the Jewish people is obligated to say, so this is expected from everyone, when will my actions reach the actions of my father, Avram, Yitzchok, and Yaakov, of Avram Yitzchak? Hello. So basically, we have an unlimited amount of privileges because we're the seventh. There's no limitation. So we're all set. But yet, Darfman needs bazich. You shouldn't be kidding yourself. But later, we still need to know that in the place of the great we shall not stand. And the whole Milas Hashvi, who and the entire advantage of the seventh is Shvi Larishain, is that you're the seventh to the first. Azerken durchfirun, that you have the ability, and you're to the first, you have the ability to accomplish avodos ushlichas harishain, the work and the mission of the first one, the al tikra vayikra vayakri. Don't pronounce it calling, but to make others call. Bezehu hachabivus the hashvis, and this is the dearness of the seventh, shahu hamamshich hashchina, because the seventh is that brings down the divine. Beloy oid, not only that it can bring down the Shekhinah, vayikra vayakri, you bringing down the Shekhinah, that makes you great, not sitting with your hands folded and just saying, I'm Shvi, but you have the ability to finish and do the work of Vayikra Vayakri. But you can bring down the main Shekhinah. And not just to bring down the Shekhinah, in the lower world. This is what is being demanded from each and every one of us. We are the seventh generation. The Chol Hashvin Chavivin, all seventh are dear. So we are dear. Even though this that we are in the seventh generation, is not by our choice and not through our work, and in several matters, possibly it's not like we would want it to be. We don't want perhaps to be that, but it's not our choice. The fact we're the seventh, we're there. We find ourselves in the hills of Mashiach, and in the end of the hills. And the work is ligmoir, to conclude hamshachas hashchina, to bring down the Shechina. Beloy rak, we have to bring down the Shechina, not just the Shechina, ki ikar Shechina, but the main Shechina, the highest of the level of the Shechina spoken before, and specifically in the lower worlds.